Perfect foils don't need a root shadow. There you go, I said it. I don't even care. But seriously, you shouldn't have to rely on a root shadow. Obviously, if the client wants that look, then definitely we already know that we're going to be doing it. But you should always place your foils thinking that you're not going to actually have to do the root shadow, because what if they change their mind? I'm going to show you how I'm doing an express 15-minute foil application here. This is how I do my face frame foiling, and I'm not going to be using a root shadow today, so you're going to be able to see the end result without any toners. Now, her hair does lift really well because it is naturally quite light, so I don't even need to worry about doing a gloss or counteracting any warmth. I am using equal parts of the original mineral paint powder, which is a clay lightener, and then the original keratin lightener, and I'm doing it with 6%, which is 20 volt developer. Now, this is actually going to lift it really clean, so I already know that I'm not going to have to counteract any warmth. Again, in my foundations that I'm laying, I'm always thinking about not having to rely on a shadow or a toner. In saying that, 90% of my color work does have toners, so like, I'm not saying that I don't use them. I'm just saying that I'm not going to use it in this case. You can see the way that I'm foiling my perimeter. Now, I'm not a huge fan on going back to back and leaving no hair out on the perimeter. Reason being that I just feel like it looks artificial and not natural. And for me, the best color work always looks the most natural. So instead, I like to do back to back fine weaves. You could probably almost call these strand lights. They're very, very, very fine. But I always say that you can't go fine enough when you're working with the perimeter of the hairline. I don't want to be seeing any pesky lines or bit of regrowth right on that very front when she ties her hair up. So we're making sure that we're getting scalp application when we're applying our lightener. So I do this by basically folding over a foil. I'm using the Alex Loves foil here. These are my favorite ones. When I fold it over, I feel like I get a little bit more structure and it's almost like board light, so I can get really close to that root. My favorite brush is the Hello Bleach tint brush. This is the way that it kind of feathers out. It's almost like I can place the lightener, push it up and sweep it off, so it's not heavily dumping a whole bunch of lightener at the very root. The formula is really important. Obviously, you need to be using a clay lightener because the clay lightener does not expand, so therefore you're not going to get any bleed marks, and I want to be able to get it right on the scalp without any bleed marks. You want to keep foiling all the way until you get right up to this dip in her hairline. She has a bit of a deep kind of, I don't want to say receding hairline, but it basically dips back quite a bit. So I do need to make sure that I don't just do like 3 foils and call it a day. I need to foil all the way back until my hairline is completely covered before I then come to the front and start connecting it up. Again, I'm doing fine foils. You can see that this foil, it almost looks like it's not even worth foiling, but trust me, it is. It's always important to make sure you're going super fine, even if you feel like it's not enough hair for a foil. It makes all the difference, and you're going to see that in a minute when I take all the foils out. So I always go about 4 to 5 foils deep in this front section here. Again, I don't like my face frames to look chunky, so I'm keeping them really light. I'm also making sure that I can see her part, which you can see there. So I'm actually going to foil past her part a little bit more onto the right. So I'm almost like bricklaying